Chapter 1, The Perfect Lie, How Perfectionism Hides Procrastination. Many people think perfectionism is a good thing. It sounds like something to be proud of, wanting to do things well, aiming for the best. But perfectionism often turns into a trap. It makes us believe we must do something perfectly, or not do it at all. This idea feels safe, but it actually leads to a lot of delay, stress, and inaction. Let's take a common example. Imagine you want to write something important, an article, a story, maybe even a simple email. You sit down to start, but then a voice in your mind says, "Make sure it's perfect." You start to feel nervous. What if it's not good enough? What if people judge it? You try to think of the perfect first sentence, but nothing feels right. Minutes turn into hours. You give up for the day, thinking you'll try again tomorrow. But the same thing happens again and again. This is how perfectionism leads to procrastination. You're not lazy? You care too much. You want it to be so good that you stop yourself from even beginning. This is what I call the perfect lie, the idea that you need to be perfect before you can start. Research backs this up. Dr. Piers Steele, a professor who studies procrastination, says that many people delay tasks not because they don't care, but because they're afraid of failure. They fear doing something badly, so they wait for the perfect moment. But often, that moment never comes. Think about this. Have you ever had a great idea but didn't act on it? Maybe it was a business idea, a personal project, or something as simple as starting a workout plan. You had good intentions. But then you thought, I need to plan it better first, or I need to learn more before I start. Days turn into weeks, and the idea stays stuck in your head. That's the effect of perfectionism. Let me tell you about someone I once worked with, Layla, a graphic designer. She had a dream of creating her own portfolio website. She talked about it often, made sketches, and even picked her morning, let's do this later. And often, you listen. Psychologists call this emotional avoidance. You delay action not because the task is hard, but because it makes you feel uncomfortable. You don't want to face the fear, stress, or pressure, so you avoid the task itself. Now, combine this with perfectionism. You're not only avoiding a hard task, you're waiting to do it perfectly. This creates a double delay. First, you avoid starting. Then, you avoid starting until you feel ready to do it perfectly. The result? Procrastination becomes a habit. One of the best models to understand this is the temporal motivation theory. It says that our motivation depends on 4 things. 1. Value, how important the task is to us. 2. Expectancy, how likely we think we'll succeed. 3. Delay, how far away the reward is. 4. Impulsiveness, how easily we're distracted. When we believe a task matters, high value, think we can succeed, high expectancy, and the reward is close, low delay, we feel motivated. But if we're unsure we can do it well, or if the reward feels far away, motivation drops, and we delay. Here's a simple example. Think about a student with an important essay due in 2 weeks. The topic matters, but it feels hard. She wants it to be perfect. She doubts she can write it well. And the deadline seems far away. So she puts it off. Every day, she feels more pressure, but also more fear. When the deadline finally arrives, she's rushing and stressed. This could have been avoided if she understood how delay feeds fear. The key is to take small actions early, even if they feel awkward. Starting sooner, even with a rough plan or a few notes, can reduce fear and increase confidence. Let's also look at shame, another strong reason for delay. When you've procrastinated for a while, you might start feeling guilty. You think, I'm so behind, or I always mess this up. This shame adds another layer of resistance. It's no longer just about the task, it's about how you feel about yourself. And that makes it even harder to begin. But here's the good news, shame doesn't help you start. Kindness does. Being honest with yourself, without being harsh, is the first step. Try saying this. I haven't started yet, and that's okay. But I'm ready to take one small step now. That shift in tone is powerful. You're not scolding yourself. You're supporting yourself. This is what healthy self-talk looks like. And it works better than any strict rule or harsh deadline. So let's be clear, delaying does not mean you're broken. It means your brain is trying to protect you from discomfort, fear, and pressure. But real growth comes when you gently push past that fear. Not all at once. Just enough to move forward. Now that we understand why we delay, let's talk about how to break that pattern. The first step is awareness. Notice when you're delaying something and ask yourself, what feeling am I avoiding right now? Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's feeling unsure of where to begin. Or maybe it's the pressure to do it perfectly. Naming the emotion is powerful. It gives you control over it. Here's a practical method, the 5-minute start. This is a simple rule. Tell yourself, I'll just work on this for 5 minutes. That's all. You don't need to finish it. You don't even need to do it well. Just 5 minutes. Why does this work? Because starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, your brain shifts. You feel a small sense of momentum. Often, those 5 minutes turn into 20, then 30. But even if they don't, you've still taken a step, and that matters more than waiting for the perfect time. Let's talk about reward and progress. Your brain likes rewards. When you complete a task, even a small one, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good. So when you check off a task or complete a step, you're actually training your brain to enjoy action. This is why it helps to break big tasks into small pieces. Instead of saying, I need to write a report, say, I'll write the introduction today. Small wins build motivation. Each one makes the next step easier. Another useful trick is temptation bundling. This means pairing something you enjoy with something you're putting off. For example, listen to music while cleaning. Watch your favorite show while folding laundry. This makes the task feel less heavy and easier to start. Let's also remember this: motivation often comes after action, not before. Many people wait to feel ready before they begin. But waiting for motivation is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before going outside. If you act first, motivation usually follows. This is called action-based motivation. Now, let's bring in another powerful idea: identity. When you see yourself as someone who gets things done, your actions start to match that identity. You begin to act in ways that support it. So instead of saying, "I'm a procrastinator," say, "I'm learning to take action even when I don't feel ready." You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Small, steady actions change how you see yourself, and over time, they change your habits. Let's end with a quick reflection exercise. What task have I been avoiding? What emotion is connected to that delay? What's one 5-minute step I can take today? Remember, procrastination is not a sign that you're weak. It's a signal that your brain is looking for safety. But safety doesn't always mean progress. Growth comes when you move forward, even while feeling unsure. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Your future self will thank you for taking that first imperfect step today. Chapter 3: The Comfort of Inaction. Let's face it, doing nothing feels easier than doing something hard. believe it says about us? If you try and fail, will you look weak? If your first draft isn't great, will people think you're not smart or skilled? These silent fears can freeze you before you even begin. But here's the truth: taking action, even small action, is how we build self-trust. It's how we prove to ourselves that we can handle discomfort and still move forward. Each time you act, you remind yourself, I'm capable. I don't need to be perfect to make progress. Let's look at another example. Amir, a young entrepreneur, wants to start an online business. He spends months researching the best tools, the perfect niche, and the right timing. But he never launches? Why? Because launching means exposure. It means risk. As long as the idea stays in his head, it's safe. No one can judge it. No one can reject it. But also, no one can benefit from it. And Amir stays stuck in the comfort of almost starting. What Amir really needs is not another plan. He needs to take one imperfect step. Maybe it's buying a domain name. Maybe it's posting his first product online. That first action breaks the comfort bubble and gets him moving. This brings us to an important truth: motion creates motivation. When you're moving, your energy changes. You start to feel capable. Your brain rewards you with small bursts of dopamine, the same chemical tied to feelings of accomplishment and pleasure. Each step forward feels good, and that feeling fuels the next step. So how can you apply this today? Use the tool of start small, stay small, scale later. Pick one task you've been avoiding. Do the smallest version of it. Don't worry about the big picture yet. Just get moving. Here's another tip: change your environment. Sometimes, the space around you keeps you stuck in old patterns. Try working in a new spot, turning off your phone for 30 minutes, or even putting on a specific playlist that signals focus time. Small shifts can create a big change in energy. Let's add a short practice to wrap up this page. Mini habit challenge, today. Identify one task you've delayed. Break it into a 2-minute action. Set a timer. Do it now. That's it. No pressure. No perfect results needed. Just one action. You'll notice how much better you feel, not just because you did something, but because you proved to yourself that you can take control. Inaction may feel safe, but it's a false kind of safety. Over time, it creates stress, regret, and a sense of being stuck. Action may feel hard, but it leads to freedom, confidence, and real progress. So remember, you don't have to take a giant leap. Just take one small step out of comfort, and into momentum. Chapter 4, The Myth of Mastery Before Action. One of the biggest reasons people procrastinate is this belief: I need to be fully ready before I start. They think they need to master every skill, learn every detail, and perfect every part before they can begin. But this mindset keeps you stuck. It makes you believe you're never enough, not yet, not now, maybe not ever. Let's be clear, you don't need to be an expert to begin. You don't need to have everything figured out. In fact, trying to know it all before starting is one of the fastest ways to stay frozen. This mindset often shows up as imposter syndrome. You think, who am I to do this? Or what if people find out I don't know everything? But here's the truth: no one knows everything. Not even the experts. They just started earlier, and learned along the way. Take a moment and think of something you admire, maybe a great book, a successful business, or a popular video. Behind each of those is a person who began before they were ready. They didn't wait for perfect skills or the perfect plan. They acted, and they improved through action. Here's an example. Jenna wanted to start a blog about mental health. She had ideas, passion, and personal experience, but she doubted herself. She thought she needed a writing degree, a website designer, and the perfect launch strategy. Months passed. Then one day, she wrote a simple post on social media and shared it. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't polished. But people loved it. That one post gave her the confidence to start her blog. She learned by doing, not by waiting. This leads us to an important mindset. You don't need mastery before action. Action creates mastery. Let's bring in a powerful idea from psychologist Carol Dweck, the growth mindset. It's the belief that abilities are developed through effort and learning, not something you're either born with or not. When you embrace this mindset, mistakes don't scare you. They teach you. Starting messy becomes part of the process. Here's how to shift your thinking. Instead of "I'm not good enough," say, "I'm learning." Instead of "what if I fail?" say, "what can I learn if I try?" Instead of "I'm not ready," say, "I'm ready to begin growing." Let's take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what are you holding back on because you think you're not skilled enough? What's one small way you could begin before feeling fully prepared? Remember, waiting to be ready often means never starting. But starting opens the door to growth, learning, and confidence. You don't have to be great to begin. You just have to begin to become great. Let's take this even further. Many people don't just wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They believe confidence must come before action. But here's a powerful truth. Confidence comes from doing, not from thinking. Think about any skill you've learned, riding a bike, speaking in public, or cooking. You didn't become confident first. You became confident after trying, making mistakes, and improving. The same is true for everything else in life. Action builds confidence. Each step teaches you something new and shows you what you're capable of. Let's meet Marcus, a young man who wanted to teach online courses. He had deep knowledge in his field, but he kept saying, "I'm not a good speaker," or "what if no one signs up?" So he waited. And waited. Then one day, he decided to record a short video on his phone, just a 5-minute tip he could share online. He didn't love how it turned out. His voice sounded nervous. But people thanked him. That one imperfect video led to 5 more, and then a full course. His confidence didn't come from research or preparation, it came from doing. To help you shift your own mindset, try the ugly first draft rule. This rule says, your When you do, you'll discover what's possible. Chapter 5, Progress as an Antidote to Perfectionism. Perfectionism tells you to wait until everything is right. But progress whispers, let's just start and see where it goes. And that small whisper can change everything. Here's the truth, progress breaks the grip of perfectionism. When you focus on small steps instead of big outcomes, you give yourself room to move, grow, and improve. You stop needing everything to be flawless, and you start building momentum. Think about it, perfection is a fixed target. You either hit it or you don't. But progress is flexible. It's about moving forward, even just a little. That shift in mindset is powerful. It gives you freedom to act without fear. Let's look at a helpful concept called the minimum viable effort. This means doing the smallest version of a task that still counts. It's not about cutting corners. It's about keeping things simple enough that you can get started, and keep going. Here's how it works. If you're overwhelmed by writing a full article, start with one paragraph. If going to the gym feels like too much, do 10 minutes of stretching at home. If you want to clean your room, begin by organizing just your desk. These small wins matter. They build confidence. They show your brain that action is safe and rewarding. Over time, they add up to real progress. Science supports this too. Studies in behavioral psychology show that small, consistent actions build habits more effectively than trying to do everything at once. Big efforts can lead to burnout. But small steps create routines that stick. Let's also be honest, progress feels good. Checking off a small task gives your brain a hit of dopamine, the chemical that creates motivation and satisfaction. So the more progress you make, the more motivated you become. Now, let's take a look at Fatima, a high school teacher who wanted to write a book. She had big ideas, lots of notes, and high hopes. But every time she sat down, she felt frozen. She thought, it has to be perfect. I need the right words, the right structure. Weeks passed, and she wrote nothing. Then, a friend gave her this advice: write 1 page a day. Don't worry if it's great. Just get it done. Close with a reminder. You won't silence your inner critic overnight. But you can turn down the volume. You can teach your mind a new way to speak, one that leads to courage, effort, and growth. Try this today. Choose one affirmation from this page. Say it out loud 3 times. Then take one small action to support it. Your inner voice is always talking. The question is it helping you or holding you back? And the good news is, you get to choose what it says next. Chapter 7, Time Tactics to Beat Delay. Time is one of the most common excuses we give ourselves. I don't have time. I'll do it when I'm less busy. I just need a few more free hours. But let's be honest, most of the time, it's not really about time. It's about how we manage our energy, focus, and priorities. When perfectionism takes over, we often spend more time avoiding a task than it would take to actually do it. Let's fix that with practical time tools that help you act, even when you feel overwhelmed. First, let's talk about the Pomodoro technique. This simple method works like this. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Work on one task with full focus. When the timer rings, take a 5-minute break. After 4 rounds, take a longer break, 15 to 30 minutes. Why does it work? Because it gives your brain a clear deadline and a reward. You're not committing to hours of hard work. You're just committing to 25 minutes. That's manageable. And once you start, momentum builds. Next, try time blocking. Instead of saying, "I'll do it sometime today," choose a specific time. Example: 9 o'clock to 9:30, outline the report. 2 o'clock to 2:30, respond to emails. 6 o'clock to 6:30, plan the week ahead. Time blocking turns vague intentions into solid commitments. And it reduces the chance of putting things off until later, which usually turns into never. Another meeting. MIT 3, 30-minute workout. Quick win, reply to Sarah's email. Reward, watch a new episode of your favorite show. This system gives your day direction and motivation. Each task you finish is a small success, which fuels the next. Let's add another tool, evening planning. Spend 5 to 10 minutes at the end of each day asking, "What went well today?" What could I do differently tomorrow? What are my top 3 tasks for the next day? This small habit creates mental closure. It lets you relax without carrying the day's stress into your sleep. And it prepares your mind to act with focus the next morning. Here's another useful method: batching. Group similar tasks together. Instead of switching constantly, you do one type of task in one block of time. For example, check all emails at 10 a.m., make all phone calls at 2 p.m. Do deep work, writing, creating, from 9 o'clock to 11 a.m. Batching protects your focus. It stops your brain from jumping between tasks, which saves time and energy. Let's not forget the emotional side of delay: overwhelm. Sometimes we don't start because everything feels too big. That's when lists, timers, and breaks become your best tools. Try this routine when you feel overwhelmed. 1. Brain dump. Write down everything on your mind. 2. Circle 3 things that actually matter. 3. Set a 10-minute timer for the first one. 4. Take a 2-minute break after. Repeat this process as needed. It keeps you moving without stress. Finally, let's talk about rituals. A ritual is a small, repeated behavior that prepares your mind for action. For example, lighting a candle before work. Putting your phone on airplane mode. Starting with a 3-minute journal or stretch. These small actions tell your brain, it's time to focus. They help reduce resistance and make work feel automatic. Your action step for today. Choose one time tactic from this chapter and use it today. Track how it feels and what changes for you. Then repeat it tomorrow. Small tools used daily can create big changes over time. You don't need more hours in the day. You just need better rhythms, and a little trust that action builds itself, one clear step at a time. Chapter 8, Identity Shift, from Perfectionist to Doer. If you want lasting change, don't just change your habits, change how you see yourself. Because your identity, the way you think about who you are, drives every action you take. Let's say you think of yourself as someone who always procrastinates. Every time you put something off, it reinforces that identity. You say, "That's just how I am." And with that belief, change becomes harder, because you're not just trying to change behavior. You're fighting who you think you are. But what if you shifted that story? What if you began to say, "I'm the kind of person who takes action, even when it's hard"? That one shift in identity can unlock a whole new level of motivation and consistency. This idea comes from behavior science and habit research. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear writes, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So the more often you show up, even in small ways, the more you prove to yourself, this is who I am now." Here's an example. Let's meet Noor. She used to describe herself as a perfectionist who overthinks everything. Because of this belief, she delayed decisions, doubted her work, and stayed stuck. But she decided to try something new. Every time she took action, even if it was messy, she said out loud, "I'm a doer." After a few weeks, something shifted. She didn't just act more often. She felt different, stronger, more confident. She had created a new identity, one step at a time. You can do the same? You don't need to wait for a perfect moment. You just need to choose a new story about who you are, and back it up. not fear. Here's a practical method called the failure review. It's a simple reflection exercise that helps you turn any setback into a learning moment. It works like this. Step 1. What happened? Write down the event or moment you think was a failure. Be clear and honest, but not harsh. Example, I tried to record a video but deleted it because I didn't like how I looked and sounded. Step 2. What did I learn? Look for lessons. Maybe you learned something about timing, preparation, expectations, or your emotions. Example, I realized I'm too focused on how I appear instead of the message I'm sharing. Step 3. What would I do differently next time? Turn the failure into a plan. This part builds confidence. It shows that the situation can improve. Example, next time, I'll record and upload without rewatching 10 times. I'll trust the message is enough. Step 4. What did I do well, even in this failure? This question builds self-respect. It reminds you that even when things didn't go perfectly, you showed up. Example, I followed through on planning and setup. I actually hit record. That's a step forward. Doing this review once a week or after difficult tasks helps you build emotional resilience. You stop running from mistakes and start learning from them. That's the mindset of people who keep improving, no matter how many setbacks they face. Let's bring in a powerful idea from psychology: growth after failure. Research shows that when people reflect on their failures with curiosity instead of shame, they grow faster and stay more motivated. This is called adaptive failure response. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about asking better questions after something goes wrong. Here are a few better questions to ask yourself when you feel like you failed. What part of this actually worked? What's one small thing I'd try differently next time? What does this show me about my courage and effort? These questions help you stay focused on movement, not self-blame. Let's be clear, failure will always feel uncomfortable. The self-kindness to try again. The identity of someone who takes action? You've proven it. It's about creating consistency that sticks. And now, it's time for your personal commitment. Not to perfection, but to progress. The Do It Anyway pledge. I will no longer wait for the perfect time, plan, or version of myself. I will take action, even when it feels scary, messy, or uncertain. I will speak to myself with kindness, not criticism. I will treat every step as proof that I'm growing. I will show up, stay in motion, and give myself permission to learn. Because perfection is not the goal, progress is. And I'm doing it anyway. Take a deep breath. This is your fresh start. Not just with tasks or goals, but with how you show up in your own life. You are no longer stuck. You are no longer waiting. You are becoming the kind of person who acts anyway. And that changes everything. Thank you for reading. Now close this book, take a small step forward, and prove to yourself once again. You don't need perfect. You just need to begin. Now go do it anyway.